Hi friends, it's Deanna here today, and today we're sewing up the Brandy balloon sleeve dolman. This is a woven pattern. I am so excited about it. I've been playing around with woven patterns, and I am just so excited to get this one because I love the sleeve on it. So we're gonna be sewing up the sleeve. We're gonna be sewing up this pattern together. Cannot wait. Let's do it. All right, I've got all my pieces cut out and we're gonna get started. I'm going to start by adding a stay stitch around the neckline, which is just a long basting stitch on your sewing machine. Woven sometimes tend to stretch and warp as you're working with them, and you don't want it to do that. So that's going to keep it from doing that at the neckline. So we're just gonna do a stay stitch all the way around the front and the back. Then we're gonna grab our front bodice. This is the front bodice here. And you should have marked your darts. So we're going to start with our darts. So I'm going to mark them now so that way I can stay stitch and do my dart at the same time. So here's my dart marked out. And what I like to do is grab from the bottom side of the dart to the top. And then I fold the dart over and then I turn and come out the other side. So you have your dart folded here. Because we're going to go over to our sewing machine and sew this dart. This is really cool to have this dart here because that's going to add a nice fit to our dolman top. It's going to bring it in at the sides and give you a nice fit here. Same with the other side. Come in at the bottom, come out at the other side where your line is. And then go over and come out at the line. Then we're going to go over to our sewing machine and sew it up. You're going to start by sewing, you can backstitch at the beginning, but you're going to start sewing and go all the way to the end. And as you're getting near the end, you're going to make your stitch a little bit smaller here as you get over to the end. And then you're going to come right out. You're not going to backstitch here. You're just going to come right out, and then we're going to tie it afterwards. So let's go do that. All right, so first I'm doing the stay stitch at the top of the neckline. And now we're gonna work on the dart. So what I wanna do is I'm gonna start at the top, and my pins are all facing the wrong way, which is not the greatest thing. So we're gonna start here at a regular stitch length, and we're going to back stitch the beginning, and then we're going to go along that line all the way down. And as we get close to coming out here at the bottom, I'm going to lessen my stitch length and come right out. And then pull a little tail so that way you can tie it later. We're going to do that for both sides. All right, now that that's done there, we're going to go right here on the inside, like I said, and we're going to just tie a couple knots just so that it's not going to come apart. These are not going to be tight because you don't want any like puckering there. So you're not like pulling super tight. You're just tying them so that way it's not going to come off, and then you can trim the excess. If I could find my little snips. I've got scissors here. Not my snips, but scissors. And then do the same on the other side. All right, next we're going to grab our front and back, and we're going to match up or show. Oh, actually, I want to steam those darts. Hold on. All right, so we're going to steam the darts up and down, kind of give them, like, make them look really nice, so flatten them out. We're going to do that for both darts. They're going to look really good on the other side. It kind of gives you a little bit of more room here at the bust area. I'm going to put that aside. We're going to work on our shoulders in a minute, but if you're doing binding, you can go ahead and work on the binding now and get it prepped. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to grab your binding, you're going to fold it wrong sides together. If you have a binding maker, which I do, but I didn't bring it out, I showed it in a different video. This is just a small piece, so that's why I'm just doing it by hand. But the binding tool is so cool. Anyway, fold it in half first, and then you're going to open it up and grab those two sides, and they're going to come in at that half point that you created. that memory, that crease that you made, they're going to come, both of them are going to come right to that memory crease right there. And you're going to steam them towards the center. You can also use already pre-made binding if you don't want to make your own. That's up to you. Let me know in the comments below what you plan on using. Are you going to do the facing or are you going to do the binding? I like both, facing and binding. Either one would look great on this. A lot of times I do facing for woven items, but today I figured I'll go with binding. All right, so now once that's there, we're going to fold it over again and create that crease here. And this is going to be prepped for when we work on our neckline. I just wanted to go ahead and prep it right now while I had my ironing board here in front of me. All right, and now we're going to grab our bodice front and back, and we're going to match up those shoulders and sew right sides together. So the right side of the shoulders are facing each other, and we're going to sew them together. Now for woven, do you see how this is fraying like that? Wovens tend to fray a lot, so you have to be extra careful. You can't just use your sewing machine because then they will fray. They can fray up to the seam allowance. Also, you don't want to just use your serger because it's just one little piece. So you want to make sure that you have a double reinforcements. So what I like to do, I go ahead and sew it on my sewing machine, and then I go back on my serger and finish off with my serger on the outer edge, outside of my seam allowance. You could do that. You could also do a zigzag stitch on your sewing machine if you wanted to on the outside, but you always want to do that straight stitch first and then finish it off with your serger or with your zigzag stitch. All right, we're going to grab our binding and we're going to open it up and we're going to sew up that short raw edge right sides together. All right, now we're going to open that up. We're going to open that seam allowance up here as well. And we're going to go to the back of our top. So I marked my back right there, and we're going to match that right sides together. And we're going to sew it all the way around along that first crease that we created here on our binding. So right sides together, going around the whole neck area. All right, once that's sewn together, we want to go ahead and trim that extra allowance here. That way it gets out of our way. And I like to do that with pinking shears, but if you just want to clip on the seam allowance with your scissors, you can do that, but just be very careful you don't cut anything else. This is kind of a scary part because I don't want to cut my other part of my fabric. I just want to cut some of this seam allowance here. All right, once you've trimmed that seam allowance, we're going to fold that binding. Let me grab it this way. We're going to fold that binding over that first crease and then right over, and then we're going to close it and top stitch it. Comment below and let me know, what do you prefer with wovens? Do you prefer facing or binding? I like both. I do think facing is easier. If you have a hard time with binding, facing is a really good option of something to do because then you don't have to worry about, you know, when you fold it over and all that stuff. So that's also a good option. All right, now I'm going to go to my sewing machine and we're going to top stitch that binding. All right, if we're doing the cuffs, we're going to grab one of the ends, the long end, so we're going to fold it 3/8 of an inch up and steam. Then the next step you can do, I'm going to do both of them at the same time, which will be the bottom of the sleeve. So find your top of your sleeve. The bottom of the sleeve is going to get a gathering stitch here at the bottom because we're going to gather that sleeve to fit our cuff here. So we're going to put in that gathering stitch, but at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and open up my bodice and I'm going to sew up my sleeve. So I'm going to face it Make sure that the back is towards the back. So I marked the back on my sleeve. So this is the wrong one. So it's going to be this one. Make sure that you're looking at it correctly. So like if it's not fitting correctly, then, you know, that's not the one. Or even if it's, you know, make sure that you mark it, because it can be confusing sometimes with the balloon sleeve, which way it's supposed to lay. So we're going to match it right sides together with the shoulder, and we're going to sew them right sides together. I'm going to do that for both sleeves. And put the gathering stitch at the bottom of the sleeve. I'm just going to use a straight stitch on my sewing machine, and I'm just going to lengthen it. And so that way I can just pull on the bobbin thread and gather it. Remember, after I put in the basting stitch, I'm going to go back over to my serger and serge that raw edge. I'm looking to make sure that I did catch all my seams and everything and nothing went wonky, because sometimes, you know, with wovens, especially light wovens like this one, they can get a little, you know, moody and move around on you. I'm lengthening my stitch, and then I'm going to put in that gathering stitch. I'm finishing that shoulder seam with my serger, so it's not going to fray on me. All right, now I'm going to use the bobbin thread, and I'm going to pull on it, and we're going to gather this sleeve to fit this cuff. We're going to do that for both sleeves. All right, once that's sewn like that, we're going to grab the raw edge, and we're going to sew that sleeve to that raw edge, not the edge that you folded, but the other edge. And it's going to be right sides together. I'm going to do it this way because it's easier to see the gathering here. I'm going to do that for both cuffs. All right, let's go sew that. All right, we're almost done. And all we've got to do is sew those sides up. So we're going to match up that seam at the armpit area. And we're going to go all the way down the side seam. Right sides together. And then all the way up the sleeve. When you get to the cuff, make sure that you open up that memory crease that you created, because you're just going to sew straight through. And then we're going to fold that memory crease over and fold that up and fold this over and top stitch to sew that cuff in a little bit when we're done. So we're going to do that on both sides. And after I sew that up, when I go to serge the sides, I'm going to serge the edge, the bottom edge of my shirt, because when I go to hem, you can either serge the whole edge, or you can do a 1/4 inch fold and then another 1/4 inch fold. But I'm just going to serge the whole edge and then just fold up 1/2 inch to finish off the hem. All right, let's go sew that up. We're almost done. Alrighty, we are basically done. All we gotta do is hem and sew this cuffs, and we are done. This was such a quick and fun sew. I love it. Actually, let me come from the inside here on the sleeve, so that way you can see what I'm doing. So it's already folded, so we're gonna fold back over where we had that memory fold, and then we're gonna fold over. We're going to place that memory fold over that seam allowance. So we're going to top stitch over that seam allowance, and Bo wants to say hello. He says hello. I don't know if you heard him or not. And we're going to go over that seam allowance and pin. Oh, I know, buddy. I'm almost done. I don't know if you hear him. He's like, Mama, it's time to cuddle. So I'm folding over that seam allowance, and we're going to top stitch that down. And I'm going to top stitch it from the right side so I know where I'm top stitching at. Okay. all the way around and do the same for the other one. And then we're just gonna go ahead and fold over that hem at the bottom. So we'll come over from this side and top stitch all the way around. And then we're gonna hem the bottom and then we'll be done. And I'll show you what that looks like, what my top looks like on. I'm so excited. I think it's gonna be beautiful. I used this beautiful woven from boho fabrics. I know I get asked where I get my fabric from a lot. This one is from boho fabrics, and you can, I think it's still available. I got it not that long ago, but it was on sale. It was like a one of their sales that they were having. So I'm not sure if it's still available, but it is gorgeous nonetheless. Make sure when you're pinning it, you're only pinning it to one side. You're not pinning it to both sides. Done that before. That's why I'm picking it up and doing it like not on the table, but over. For the hem, since I already since I already serged the bottom, I'm just going to go with my, I'm just gonna go fold over and top stitch. All right, let's go top stitch that. You want to make sure that your stitching catches all the way around on the inside, because you don't want the cuff to fall open. All right, friends, we are done with this sew. Look at these beautiful sleeves. I love how this turned out. It is so pretty. This fabric was the perfect choice. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Go grab your pattern, come back and sew it up with me, and I'll see you all next time.